Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode 5 of What the Tech. My name is Adam Lobo.
I'm Syed.
And yes, this is our 5th episode, so we're very happy to be back here again. Once again, for those of you who are not familiar, this tech show is specifically for those of you who want to understand how the weekly tech news works, what we have been covering on our website at www.adamlobo.tv. And instead of us doing daily reviews or tech news on this, we decided to have a weekly tech podcast. So for those of you who are familiar with Adam Lobo TV's content, be sure to subscribe. Or if you're just a fan of tech and want to hear our thoughts on the news and what exactly is happening around the whole tech world, this is the place for you guys to be. What the Tech is available not only on YouTube but also on every single podcast platform. So you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every single podcast platform. So if you feel like you just want to listen to us while you're driving, while you're commuting, anywhere you can do so. But of course, you can watch us here on YouTube for us to give you a visual representation of what we have. Okay, this particular week has been a little slow once again when it comes to videos, but when it comes to tech news, we do have 4 news for you all. So, Syed, let us go through the very quick roundup on what exactly we're going to be talking about this week's episode.
Okay, so you know how we've gone through a bit of innuendos these past couple of episodes. So this time it's the actual thing. So basically, there is a porn app that's now available to download on iPhones. But before we get more on that, it's only available in the EU. So you can try to download it, but you have to move to the EU to do it. And also, we're talking about the Nothing Phone 3A. So apparently, they're gonna do a camera button. Jumping on the camera button bandwagon, I guess. And Sonos. This one was quite interesting. Sonos is they're entering the streaming market with their own Android-powered TV box, which is interesting, honestly, because they're known mainly for their audio products. So I'm interested to see how it's going to go. And so someone just turned the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5, which is the exact watch I'm wearing now, into a PSP. Yeah, and I'm really impressed and really interested to know how, because the battery is not good.
It's not.
Not good at all.
I mean, smart watches in general wasn't so good. I've always had this so-called banter with Abang Jake about how, he always talks about how Garmin is the best smartwatch. Mm-hmm. But in the end of the day, I think it all comes down to the ecosystem. Yep. I wouldn't say that the Apple Watch has the best battery life anyway, but at least it ties in within my daily life, my smart home stuff. But yeah, we can talk about that very soon. Let us first start from the whole idea of the side loading, right? Because before we go forward, I had no idea that this is a thing. I heard rumors about it when WWDC happened last year. Mm-hmm. We kind of knew that EU was pushing, but we didn't know whether or not it materialized, right? Mm-hmm. So run us through what happened here and what is this idea of suddenly having porn on an iPhone, and how did this start? And what is happening right now, and what is the current situation which has happened? Meaning, like, they managed to remove it. So yeah, just give us the full rundown.
Okay, so before we start on that, I mean, like, let's give a big kind of a context run through. Basically, Apple is known for its exclusivity. So basically, they run and control pretty much from top to bottom in terms of their products, their ecosystem, software, yada yada, all that. So, certain bodies like EU see that as anti-commercial. No, I think it's it's a monopoly kind of thing. So, which they are against. So they basically argued that Apple, for now, in this context, Apple should allow alternatives to downloading apps, not just through their app store. So because Apple is very, not to say controlling, but they are very particular in what goes on the app stores, from top to bottom. So because of the EU's DMA, which is a Digital Market Act, if I remember correctly, they basically said that is kind of a monopolizing move. So you should actually open the opportunities for other people to come in to basically give everyone a fair shot at having their apps on an iPhone. So because of that, people can't still simply post their apps on the App Store. So what they did was, there's this alternative app store called Alt Store that you can use to basically sideload your apps through that, which is how this pawn app came about, because they basically it's pretty much like how Android does it. I mean, it's not to say Android is kind of a wild west in terms of apps. I mean, they used to be like that, but not anymore. Google has taken a bit more, a few more proactive moves to make sure that not, the Google Play Store is not filled with trash, which it was. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, if there's like one Clash of Clans app come out, there's like 10 copycats, and all of them are absolute crap. And it's just full of ads, sometimes even malware, which is just crazy. So you don't really find that anymore in on the Google Play Store, but that is exactly what Apple is trying to avoid. So, which is why they keep a pretty tight checklist on what kind of apps, what kind of SOPs your apps have to have. You have to follow a whole bunch of guidelines. So the Alt Store doesn't have that. But as far as what I see, what I've read on it, because I don't use an iPhone. So, and again, this side loading thing is only available in the EU. So I don't have an iPhone, neither do I live in the EU. So from what I've read, it's not too crazy, but at the same time, you get things like this porn app called Hot Tub. Hot Tub, it's supposed to be like a oh, okay. For those who don't know, hot tub is like slang for a place to, do it.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was
so it
wondering,
seems like Syed is very experienced when it comes to things like this.
I was curious why they call it hot tub.
Okay.
So I searched it and I found it on Urban Dictionary, and I was like, oh, okay, no wonder.
So the app is called Hot Tub.
Yeah.
Holy mother of God. So this Hot Tub app, which is in the Alt Store, it has been available in the EU for the past how long?
Actually, it's still new. It's I think maybe around a week or two, I guess, which is why Apple is a bit disappointed. And no, not just disappointed. They are quite angry about this because it kind of like affects their image. Because
I agree, because I don't blame Apple for being angry. Even when I heard about the news, I was already feeling pissed about it, because I didn't know that it was the case. I didn't know that EU really pushed it through and Apple really had to do it, because that was something that they obviously did not push through. There are certain things that EU pushed through which benefits us, like the USB-C on the iPhone. I am totally against this idea of side loading, because it reminds me to a point whereby, remember when the presidents were using BlackBerry smartphones?
Oh, yeah.
The reason why, it's because of the security and how it's a walled garden.
Yeah.
Right? So for the EU to still force Apple to do this, this is exactly why Apple keeps it within the walled garden, because having a porn site as an app to download, regardless of what the freaking name is, it's just ridiculous. And as you mentioned, malwares, all of these things are the biggest potential on why Android devices have been slowing down like madness. I have friends talking about how they buy an Android phone, after 1.5 years, it goes extremely slow. One of the reasons is malwares, and one of the reasons is because certain apps are not optimized for the particular
That's true.
device. Yes, there is a business aspect of downloading apps directly from the Apple Store, but having them to force to have people to sideload apps it's been crazy. I'm glad that it's only in the EU, not in other countries, because when I posted up the story which you said, I'm not going to mention who, but I had other brands messaging me and say like, since when? So we were not aware. I'm glad that Apple created that statement to make it known that this is happening. I just hope by having this awareness, nobody goes and download or try to put a VPN and do that. Speaking of which, because we are all region specific, right? Can somebody use VPN and download the Alt Store?
Yeah, I got curious about that too. So after I wrote this article, I went on Reddit and went on a lot of other places just to check if you could actually do it. Apparently, you can't.
Okay, that's good.
So
I'm sorry to hear that for you, bro.
Well, I mean,
you can't download Hot Tub. Ayya.
One thing that Apple really took issue with that Hot Tub app is the fact that it has a teen section.
Oh,
yeah, that was the one that actually triggered them to issue that statement, and they specifically mentioned that teen section, which I didn't know there was a like teen section until I wrote this. So I'm like, people actually still watch teen stuff on. I mean, no, okay. More specific question is that shouldn't these like porn sites stop teen sections? Because
well, if we are going to that topic and going deeper, pun not intended, I think it doesn't matter what the category is as long as people go to the website, they're sorted. But the idea of people just downloading an app and immediately getting access to all of this is just plain ridiculous.
Exactly. You could just go incognito mode. It's fine.
So is it now already removed after Apple has come up with the statement, or is it still looming in somewhere
it's still there because Apple doesn't have jurisdiction on. They have limited jurisdiction on the Alt Store because Alt Store is pretty much an independent platform.
Do we know who exactly is the developer of this Alt Store?
That one I'm not too sure because I didn't really go into that deep because I kind of felt uncomfortable, honestly speaking.
Exactly. Just thinking about it just makes me feel very uncomfortable. And I hope that this be resolved soon. So I think the developer of Alt Store is a very horny person because to me, I think it's just ridiculous. Yeah, so I hope this will be resolved soon. Again, I'm glad that Apple came out with a statement to say that this is the reason why they don't do it. And among all the decisions that EU has done to force Apple's hand to change, like I said, the USB-C port and stuff like that, I heavily criticize this. I'm with Apple on this because it's just ridiculous that you're able to download an alternate app store and have a bunch of crap that you can download within that as well.
But to be completely honest, it's not. I mean, okay, I do believe that it's a double-edged sword. I mean, if let's say, I do agree with the EU on some points that it's kind of a monopolizing kind of thing in terms of like. In terms of the the Apple versus Epic Games kind of thing. So I kind of understand why they did it. I'm not supporting either parties. I'm more of a bystander and to see how it happens and to play devil's advocate. It makes sense for them to open the App Store thing. I mean, again, it allows trash. But at the same time, it will allow other apps that, have not beef, but like misunderstandings with Apple and whatnot. Again, like the Epic Games whole story. So apparently, you can only play Fortnite mobile in the EU, which I didn't know. I thought it was available everywhere because it's available on Android. So I thought it was available on iPhones too. But apparently, it's only in the EU, which is kind of sad, honestly.
I am okay with them monopolizing because in the end of the day, they have staff to pay. And even there are side loading features available in Malaysia. I'm not going to do that. It's the same reason why I use a Mac for 21 years. Is because the confidence that I have when I download something, I know I'm not going to get a virus attack. It's the similar confidence when you buy an iPhone. Whenever I view anything or if I'm going to download anything, there's a reason why there's no APK files that can be installed on an iPhone. And having an iPhone does mean it's having security. Whether they monopolize and all, us as consumers, we don't care, right? Like, does it hurt your wallet? No. So, look, I understand and I believe that giving opportunities for everyone is great. But if it's going to go out of control like this, people are not going to be pointing fingers at Alt Store because they'll be like, I'm selling this. That hot tub app gave me money to push this. I'm going to do it. So the finger should be pointed towards EU. But yeah, you can agree to disagree on that. Okay, what do we have next? Let's just conclude that one. So yeah, what do we have next?
The Nothing Phone 3A. So yeah, they've been quite active on social media. I mean, they've been quite active on social media like across the board, not just the upcoming Phone 3A, but pretty much all their phones, which I honestly love because you don't see a lot of companies that are this social media savvy, and their marketing is quite good. What do you think?
I think it's great as well. I totally agree with you because nobody does it this way. I like how they highlight the people behind the scenes. That is something that we continue to do here on Adam Lobo TV as well. Like, you know, who you see here in the channel is exactly people who are within the team. The last video that I watched from nothing was that we created MKBHD's phone.
Oh yeah,
it's like his dream phone.
Oh yeah, although the collaborations are quite nice.
Although the thumbnail was super clickbaity, but it worked, right?
Yeah.
And I've met Kalpe in person. Socially a bit awkward. He doesn't talk a lot, but nice guy. Very, very smart. Had a 20-minute conversation with him. It's interesting because he's also part of some of the social media postings, like the videos and stuff. And you can see that although he may not be as comfortable that he wants to be on camera, but he's putting a lot of great value and great participation with the community of Nothing and the whole smartphone community, which is great because it shows the brand from a different perspective.
Yeah,
and it also shows that, hey, look, although we are a smartphone company, but here is how we do things. So it's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah.
I think every other brand should follow that as well. Jumping into the idea of the camera button bandwagon, I'm still trying to understand why is it only after the iPhone 16 onwards, then we start seeing it on Android smartphones. There is one bridge there, or somebody in there is telling, hey, the iPhone's going to have a camera button. All right, let's take the same technology and put it in our upcoming smartphones for the Android market. Because it's not like the camera button never exists before this, right?
That's true.
It was around for a really, really, really long time.
Yeah.
Sony made it famous, but prior to that, there were so many smartphones which had it.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting when people say that Apple doesn't innovate, but a lot of people don't realize that things like this only happens after Apple does something like this.
Yeah.
Look at ColorOS 15 with the Aqua Dynamics, which is Apple's dynamic island is exactly that.
Exactly, yeah.
Samsung did similar like the Nowbar, but at least it made sense because it was down, easy to reach, which is something that I've mentioned in our in-depth review of the S25 Ultra, which is coming soon. And it really makes me wonder who is telling these people, or why is it only after iPhone does it, then everybody does it? Oppo did it. And I'm sure there's a lot of brands going to do it. I think Realme did it. We haven't touched a Realme phone for years.
Yeah.
But why do you think that this is sudden emergence of the button? Is it because Apple did it? It seems to it.
It's more like because Apple is like it or not. Apple is pretty much the cream of the crop in terms of consumer electronics, especially smartphones and even laptops. As much as a lot of people don't want to admit it, Macs do dictate somewhat the mainstream consumer market, and where with the camera buttons is concerned, sure they didn't create it, and they definitely did not spearhead it. That I think is pretty much Sony from the get go. But because they are the most popular brand, because when you mention Apple, you immediately think iPhone. You immediately think the MacBook. You immediately think whatever else, the AirPods. So I think that is the reason why when other companies do it, it doesn't really matter, because people will be like, yeah, it's their own thing. But when Apple does it, people really take notice. They'll be like, oh, okay, I think we have to do it too.
Got it.
Yeah, so it's been like that since the iPhone came out. And honestly speaking, I mean, like, when the iPhone came out, who would have thought to use a touchscreen phone without a stylus? Yeah. Every other touchscreen phone is using a stylus. And when you think, especially back then, personally for me, I feel like people who use touchscreen phones are all usually like, those kind of business people, old guys, with the palm and everything. Remember that? So yeah. So when the iPhone came out, I didn't really take notice until maybe the iPhone 3, I guess, and everyone started doing their own touchscreen phones. I remember BlackBerry tried to jump on that touchscreen phone with the
Storm.
The Storm.
I actually
loved that one. The clicky.
Yeah.
The clicky
so you had a
touchscreen.
combination of both. The BlackBerry Storm, where you slide it, you have the keyboard.
Yeah.
And then if you slide it down, the BlackBerry Storm is like fully touch.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that I used the touch more. So that's why I knew that I needed to get a touch phone.
Yeah.
Going back into other phones following suit, right? Like, even though Oppo did it in the Find X8 Pro, a lot of people are not mentioning the limitation for the camera button because you can only use the zoom functionality on a landscape position. But if you're on a vertical situation, you cannot do the zoom. When I spoke to Oppo during the launch, they said that, thank you for the feedback. We will look into having a software update, but until now, nothing. Speaking of nothing, I hope at least when nothing includes that, the zooming functions have that. But based on the renders that we saw, it looks like a button very similar to Apple's one, a bit more compared to Oppo's one. But I guess we all have to just wait and see on that. So what's interesting is it is the Nothing Phone 3A. It's not the flagship.
Yeah, exactly.
And at first, when you wrote the article, I was like, this could be the flagship. But it's interesting how they are pushing the 3A first because the 2A came out recently. And instead of them already introducing the 3, they're going with the 3A. I hope they don't confuse us with some weird naming scheme like how the Nothing ear suddenly went a reset. So you don't know what number it is. They are trying to do a Sony in a very different way, I guess. So that is based on Nothing.
Yeah.
Apparently there is Sonos now.
Oh yeah.
Who's coming up with their own Android-powered TV box.
Yeah, a streaming box. Honestly speaking, I never thought that would be on. Like when you think of Sonos, you think of the soundbar, you think of the headphones, you think of the multiple premium speakers. So for them to do a streaming box, it's really out of left field. But at the same time, it makes sense because then they have like this whole ecosystem of not just sounds. So now they can come up with their own streaming box, and maybe they can have their own like custom audio profiles, audio maybe codecs for them to stream from the Android box to the speakers and whatnot. So I'm just spitting ideas right now. I don't really know what the streaming box is. For now, we only know the code name, which is Pinewood.
Oh, really? That's what it's called. Wow.
Which is interesting because Pinewood is a very prominent, the name of a very prominent studio in Hollywood. So.
Oh yes.
Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Do you think that they can make it in this particular new segment of market, coming from speakers to headphones and now going into this particular market? Do you think they can do it well? And they need to also find out what is the best pricing, right? They need to make sure to price it not as higher, or if not way much lower than the Apple TV box.
Oh, knowing Sonos, it's definitely going to cost more than your average streaming box. It's definitely going to cost more than the Google TV, the Android box. It's totally going to be, whether or not it'll be on par with the Apple TV, I don't know. Not sure, but because Sonos is a premium brand, so premium brands will always have premium price tags. No matter what you say, they will always have a premium price tag, and whether or not they want to bring the price down lower for a bigger reach, I don't know.
I don't think it's a good idea that Sonos is actually doing this, because I feel like it's not easy to compete within this market. But what I've heard, and I'm not surprised by this unusual decision, is because of the fact that apparently the upper management or Sonos just recently changed their CEO.
Oh, yeah.
So probably this fella comes in and he wants to shake the market a bit. Because whenever we review TVs, I've always noticed that until just recently, Google TV OS has finally tweaked to be very good. It was great on the TCL TV we reviewed. It was great on the Bravia series. But I still go back to the Apple TV because of the ecosystem, as MKBHD says, right? The idea that right now Upbeat is controlling everything wirelessly on an Apple TV box is great, because there's no latency. It makes things so much easy. Remember how Sonos had this issue with the app?
Yeah.
They need to realize that when they create a streaming box like this, they really have to back up on their app, right? It took them a very long time to tweak their app. It was almost like a taboo topic that you should not talk about in situations where you are within the people of Sonos. Is like, try not to talk about the app because it's still not done.
Yeah.
And now you're going to dig deeper, or you're going to dig the hole deeper to create an entire ecosystem of an Android streaming box. Probably they're not going to touch the software. Maybe it's just a box. Maybe the hardware is by Sonos.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest missed opportunity I found with the Sonos Ace headphones is the fact that I have a lot of Sonos speakers at home, some here in the studio. I still don't understand why they do not allow us to do an audio swap from the headphones to my speakers.
Oh, they do it?
They don't.
What?
So it does to the Ultra, the Arc Ultra, and the regular Arc. According to them, they said that if they were to do that, the headphones are going to be heavier. Is the chipset, which
makes sense.
It does make sense, but I hope that is allowed to make it within the ecosystem. Because imagine you come back home, because you see how Apple has done it so well with the HomePod, right?
Yeah.
You coming back home, you take your iPhone, you just put it near the HomePod, and there's audio, and it goes. And besides the super cool animation, it's so fast, no latency whatsoever. And although Sonos has really perfected the multi-room audio technology, but when it comes to really seamlessly changing between the devices, I still come upon a time where it has lots of connection issues and stuff like that. So I think it's a not good idea for them to go into this Streambox thing and probably stick to their speakers, stick to their headphones, probably a second generation Ace would be great. Their sound bars, like I've been using it for about 2 months now, the Arc Ultra and also the Sub Gen 4. Holy mother of God, amazing. So I feel like that should be the market. Because when we did our Sonos Dolby video, which did very well, a lot of people were commenting about, oh, is this better than the Nakamichi Dragon? And of course, one of the main things is that the Nakamichi Dragon is so much more expensive, right? And we had very highly reputable reviewers who still says that the Sonos ecosystem is the way to go. I feel they should just stick to that. Maybe come up with different things or maybe different generations. Going into a whole different market, especially when it involves software, I don't think that's the best idea ever. But we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, the final news of the week. So this is something which you caught, and I was like, is it really such thing? I didn't believe it until I read your article. So tell us about this final story that we have.
So someone on Reddit basically installed a PSP emulator on a Samsung Galaxy Watch 5, which I didn't know was possible. But then again, I mean, considering considering it's an Android ecosystem, and it uses basically whatever you have on your phone, it's pretty much a smaller version on the watch, considering it's using the same operating system. So it's not really a surprise. What's more surprising is it took this long for people to actually attempt it, and they did pretty well, honestly. This one is just running by his claims. I haven't tested it myself because I tried going in the comments and tried reading it into it further. It's a bit of a complicated process where you have to extract APKs, and extract everything, and it's a really complicated process. So according to him, he basically he managed to play a couple of games at 60 frames per second, which is pretty good. And also God of War Chains of Olympus, I think, if I'm not wrong, at about 30 to 40 frames.
Wow.
Yeah, which is damn good, honestly.
Chain of Olympus. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, dun,
Oh,
dun.
wow.
Holy God.
Oh my God.
Good times. But then again, you know how there are apps which you can download on the Apple Watch to allow you to watch YouTube on the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
It's the same for Samsung watches and all. For me, I download it, and after I'm done downloading it, what happens is that I don't ever watch it again because it's so small, the screen. Why? But it's cool to talk about it. It's cool that, hey, I managed to do this. But is this something whereby you're going to go out of your way and say, hey, guys, hang on, I'm going to play a game?
No, it's definitely not practical. Not practical at all, considering the size. So it is literally a question of why not? And it's basically I guess it's just a demonstration of what when I say I mean like what he can do and what he can do with the platform that he's given. So it's a cool thing, but it's nowhere near as practical as you think. I mean, again, if you don't have a controller, how are you supposed to press? Because it's on your wrist. Like, how are you gonna play like this? Like with two fingers?
Okay, there you go again. Yeah, I think it's a cool thing. It's a nice thing to flex, but I think from a practical standpoint, I don't think that the person is going to go out and do that.
Yeah.
I think there's better ways to play game on your phone.
It kind of reminds me of how people are like, can this thing run Doom? Can this thing run Doom?
Oh yes.
Yeah. You know, the latest one is someone actually managed to run Doom on a PDF. And I'm like, why?
Enjoy, bro.
Why not?
Okay, so that wraps up the stories for this time around. We do have 2 community segment highlights that we like to highlight. There's 2 ways where you can actually ask questions, or if you really want to know certain things or you want to expand a bit more on the discussions that we talk about, number one is, of course, commenting at this particular video if you're watching this on YouTube. Or you can also head to our YouTube community page. That is a place whereby Side will do a weekly poll every Wednesday. So you have any questions to ask, you can either comment or even reply to that. So one is based on a comment, which I'll take, and then you can probably talk about the poll, yeah? So this comes from, this is J3, one of our regular people always commenting. He says that, hope the development of VR and AR headset will evolve rapidly. Now, this is in context of the XR Android headset that we talked about, which is the Project Mohan, however you want to pronounce it.
Google and Samsung.
Yeah, the Samsung and Google device. I agree that I hope this development becomes better because I love the idea of AR a bit more than VR because AR glasses are a little easier on the bridge of your nose. It's not so thick. It's not so big.
And doesn't make you nauseous as much.
Yeah. So I've been meaning to try the X-Real AR glasses, which means that, you plug in via USB-C port to anything and it works. You don't need batteries because it's literally coming from that. Interestingly enough, we are not doing a video about it yet, but we will soon because we have also, the whole team managed to test out the Lenovo Legion glasses, the second generation. Really amazing stuff. Very bright and super sharp screen. Editing videos on that is really mind-blowing. But on top of that, we also managed to get a hands-on on the Lenovo Legion Go S, which I'll talk about later as well. But yeah, I agree with this is J3 because I hope that it will evolve rapidly. As a VR, tried the Apple Vision Pro, felt it was a bit heavier on the heavier side. I tried the Oculus before. It was something whereby we played it once and then it's in the cabinet until now, until this weird mold growing at the sides and eventually had to throw it away. I'm not kidding. So yeah, I agree on the AR side of things, but probably not VR. What is your thoughts about this?
I like the concept of it. It's very sci-fi and something that I think a lot of people would want. But in terms of practicality, especially VR, it doesn't really affect us with our lives and whatnot. AR, I think, is a little bit more accessible considering that it can be used as a external monitor of sorts. I can't use it because I use glasses. So whenever I take it off, like how you say, buta. So literally buta.
Yeah.
I can't see anything. It's just blobs of color, blobs of animations and whatnot. I mean, yeah, sure. Lenovo actually included like a little pair of powered glasses that you can attach to your nose, and then you wear the glasses. But it still doesn't make me experience the full potential, full extent of those AR glasses, which it's a bit of a shame because I really can't see anything without my glasses. So I hope that the development of AR/VR glasses would take into account people who wear glasses on the regular.
Very good point.
Yeah.
All right. The next question comes based on your latest YouTube community poll.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting comment and I need you to answer this. So yeah, what is the comment about first and foremost?
Okay, so I posted a poll about Sideloading Apps and whether or not people know about it or have used it and whatnot. And I asked for their thoughts in the comments below. So this guy, I'm going to try to say your username because it's a bunch of letters. So it's ECYR Bradlaw -IX1ZH. Okay.
Sounds like a password.
Yeah, it does sound like a password. So what he commented was, I do not touch, taste, or handle Apple products. Satan's apple shall not taint my bank balance. I know nothing about those cell phones. As far as I know, they came out of hell one day. Wow. Okay. And then there's a laughing emoji after that. Yeah, That's a really interesting comment, and I am kind of in your boat. Kind of. I won't say no to an Apple product, but at the moment, my wallet is saying no. Don't. Try not. You shall not pass. That kind of thing, you know. So yeah, but I wouldn't say no. If someone, maybe Adam would give me, hey, here's an iPhone 16 Pro Max. Knock yourself out. Yeah, sure, why not? But then I'm going to put it back safely in the drawer and continue using my S24 Plus. So Apit tried to convert me to using a Mac. I used it for a week, then I put it back.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and I'm using my trusty laptop, Windows laptop.
Good luck lah. Okay, I'm not going to comment on this comment because it's the most weirdest comment that we ever got in our lives.
Weirdest.
The whole idea, the fact that he called the phone cell phones itself, I knew that this fella otak tak betul. So I'm just going to leave that comment over there. Okay, let's finish off with the week's videos. Again, it has been a little of a slow week. We just released a comparison video between the Huawei Mate X-T, the triple foldable phone, the tri-fold, against the Huawei Mate X6 Reels. The reason why it was a reel is because we also want to tease the fact that the good news is that the Huawei Mate X-T, the tri-fold, will be coming to Malaysia. Ooh. And not only in Malaysia, but globally as well. When it was first announced, I thought, no way that it's going to be released globally. Yeah. And I thought it was just a concept.
Yeah, same here.
Until it is here in our studio. When I went to Hawaii at the Snapdragon Summit, technical Guruji, Gaurav, my man, love you, brother, he had it and he was like daily driving it, and me and really? Uma Nashbandi, we were kind of holding it, and it was like crazy. So Uma did a video on that, a short form video. Do you know how many views he got? 7 million.
Sheesh.
Uma just took technical Guruji's videos and just said, oh my God, so this is technology, blah, 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 7 million views. Shout out to Uma. You know I love you, brother. But we would, when we talked about this in Hawaii, I was like, no way, it is going to be released globally. It's more like, okay, just use it for a while and it's done. The fact that it's going to be released in Malaysia and globally is going to shake the market like crazy.
Definitely.
My biggest thing that I'm sure you also saw it is the fact that when you totally unfold it, it's like a slab of glass and it is as thin as a coin. I didn't believe it until I literally got Lihu to grab a coin and I said, you need to shoot with the coin because that's what they claim. And it is true. It's something that it takes a while for you to get used to how you unfold it. Yeah. Because what's even cooler is that if you unfold it wrongly, it tells you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the software tells you that, oh, don't unfold it this way. Unfold it another way instead.
Oh.
So these are the tiny little things that makes this particular device very, very high-end, right? We still do not know the price. Mm-hmm. I seriously do not know. So I'm not an embargo because I do not know the price. But if I had to guess, probably maybe about 15,000 ringgit. Yes, it's a lot of money, but knowing the fact that you can fold a phone into a regular phone. And what's interesting, I didn't mention that in the video, but that's why we're having this podcast. When I totally make it in the regular phone mode, is as thick as the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6.
Wow.
3 screens versus 2 screens. It is as thin or as thick as it is.
Okay.
So in terms of practicality wise, we will be doing an in-depth review because I have been using it off and on. I am planning to put my SIM card in most probably when you're watching this is on a Saturday night, but most probably from Monday onwards. And then I'm going to do an in-depth review to find out how practical it is to use daily, because there are certain parts where when you unfold, if you're going to use it without the stand especially, it may be a bit harder to handle and you may have the glass to scratch the screen. But then again, is using Kunlun's 2nd generation glass. And I hate doing durability tests, but I did test the Kunlun 1st generation on the Mate series and it's so good. So I think the idea of that is good. And the reason why we did a versus real is to find out. I was really sincerely wanted to know whether or not would people buy a trifold or stick to being more normal. I can't believe I'm saying this, to use a foldable. So based on your first impressions, what is your thoughts on the trifold?
Oh, it's such a satisfying phone to fold and unfold. And it did not feel flimsy at all. Like the hinges are very, not to ruffle anyone's feathers, but I actually prefer folding and unfolding that thing compared to the Z Fold. Honestly, the Z Fold is a bit too tight for my taste, and it, I did not mean it to come out that way, but it did.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a little bit too tight to open and close, especially with one hand. But the Mate XT, I mean, it's not necessarily easy to open it with one hand, but it is easier to open it than the Z Fold, which is mind blowing for me, because for me, I feel that the Z Fold is pretty much the pinnacle of a consumer smartphone engineering, and yeah, so in some ways the Mate XT surpassed that.
Yeah, even the crease. I'm surprised because you've been thinking that
the crease, yes.
Yeah. So there are two creases involved in the Huawei Mate XT or the trifold. One crease is based on folding inwards, and another crease is folding outwards. And when you totally unfold the device, it looks like a pure screen.
Yeah.
I don't know how they managed to do that. But you know, Honor is going to do the same and claim that they are the best.
And they're going to whack some nails.
Yeah, they're going to whack some nails on it, like what Honor always does. But yeah, I only see one potential problem on the Huawei Mate XT is, of course, software. That's where Samsung does it so well. Other than the software optimization and just using it, I don't see any problem with it. There's no compromises on the cameras.
Well, the camera's fantastic.
Because, it is the movable 10 aperture values. Yes. It is really good. So stay tuned for the in-depth review of that.
When Lobo pointed that out to me, I was like, wait, what? Really? And then I turned it over and then tried playing around with the aperture. I'm like, whoa, no way.
Yeah. It's funny because Samsung did that first.
Exactly.
On the S9, remember that?
Yes. And they didn't.
And then didn't follow up with the S10.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is where Samsung was first, but Huawei brought it back, which is good because having a physical aperture adjustment is so much better.
Yeah.
Another video which is coming out soon, we're not sure when, but we've managed to test the device very thoroughly, is the Lenovo Legion Go S. Side is the gamer here in the team together with Lehud. Mainly something that he really tested out more than me, but I just recently got it. I've been testing out. My biggest takeaway from the device is the fact that the comfort, the way that the Lenovo Legion Go S was designed, it really felt like it was hugging my hands.
Yeah,
and I'm sure it was for you as well.
Lenovo really knocked it out of the park in terms of ergonomics. It's very comfortable to hold. Because I find that some handhelds, whenever you're playing, like lying down, you get really tired.
Yeah,
the arms get really fatigued. But I didn't really experience it with the Legion Go S, and yeah, I'm quite impressed, honestly.
Yeah. So other than the ergonomics, how is the first impressions on the gaming test? You don't have to go in so deep because you're going to do a video about it. But how's your first impressions on the game specifically?
Really good on a handheld. Honestly, you can. I've been playing like Cyberpunk. I've been playing other AAA games, and they don't run as smooth as you would on a laptop, but they run really well on a handheld. Like I could just lie down and just play games, and that is the ultimate, gamer situation. Just sit down with a drink next to you and just like, yeah, this is it.
I totally agree. I think the only potential thing that we would see is the fact that it's running on Windows.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there's going to be a Steam OS version that's going to be out until I watched Dave Turi's video. I'm like, oh, there is. So that would be a bit more interesting.
Yeah,
not sure whether it's going to be coming to Malaysia or not, but we do have the Windows version, which comes in a very, very nice white color, matte white color. You guys know that I love my white color. See, our microphone is a white color. So yeah, stay tuned for that video. And of course, while you're watching this video, hopefully tomorrow we'll be having our 2-week review of the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. I've been using the phone, so just watch the video. I need you all to watch that video because there are certain things that I felt it was very usable, which a lot of people say is not usable. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I guess that concludes this week's episode. We have gone a bit further this time around because we wanted to go in depth a bit more on the news side of things since the videos were slow. And once again, as usual, comment down below if you have any questions to ask. If you're watching this on YouTube, or you can head on to our YouTube community page and to comment over there if you have any other questions. But the best way is to comment on this particular video so we can reply to your comments only on YouTube. And of course, if you are listening to this on the other audio streaming platform. So thank you so much for watching and listening. My name is Adam Lobo.
I'm Syed.
And we will catch you guys next week.
Bye-bye.